Well, the bad news is that Doreen is dead. Nothing happened. It is 4 degrees outside, tons of snow, too cold. So we get to practice what we preach and begin again. Okay, when I became disabled and my life literally stopped overnight, it gave me time to stop and settle, to process and think because I had nothing else that I could do. Becoming disabled and hearing my mom say those words didn't heal me overnight. It didn't mean that, boom, I was fixed. I still had to choose to do the work. I had to want to do the work. November 1st of 2024 was the day that I stopped working altogether. August of 2021, I left my print and marketing job, but continued to work for the church 100% remotely and part-time. Eventually, I couldn't make the deadlines, and when that ran out, so did I. And then I bed-rotted for a year. I played video games around the clock and was absolutely miserable. I was so depressed that I hunted down my original doctor and my therapist and began treatment. Something happened towards the end of 2025. I started to feel I was worth the effort. I started to think about what I needed to feel like me again. And then I realized in that moment that I don't know who me is. I knew I had worked really hard and I never wanted to go back to being the old version of me. But I wasn't sure what the next step was either. After sitting with it for a while, I realized I needed to shrink my world even smaller than it already had become. And remember, I had fought against that really hard. I needed to really focus and sit with myself. And to do that, I had to address relationships that I had suddenly dipped out of. I wrote emails letting them know that I needed space. That was so incredibly hard to do. They had been with me through everything, and I didn't want them to think that they were not important enough to me to be part of this process. But I knew I had to do it so that I could stop feeling guilty for just disappearing and start to really work on my stuff. So I did, and it was really well received by them. I knew when I sent the emails that I had to be okay with whatever answer I got back, but I was really relieved to see that it was all positive. When one person said, "But we really miss you, we need you to come back," and I said, "But I'm working on myself and I'm healing," she told me, "Then take your time, sweetie." Then it was different. It was really hard to believe. Like I said, I can't pinpoint exactly when the moment was, just all of a sudden I could look at things from a different angle. I saw my mom did the best that she could. She was also in an abusive, manipulating situation. And when I realized that, I saw my mom in a whole new light. And my view on my sister changed too. We'll talk about that tomorrow. What happened to me was horrible. It stole years of my life from me, going through the motions, no one home for years. But with the courage to try again, I've pushed through and pushed forward. And now when I talk about the past or my trauma, it doesn't impact me like before. I can talk about these things and I'm not thrown into a whole body physiological flashback. Now, do those things happen still? Yes, if something catches me off guard. For example, Stranger Things Season 1. Yes, I just started watching it when Season 5 was out. When Hopper's daughter dies of cancer, the camera pans to his face, and his face, his reaction, is what I envisioned when I was first faced with Aiden's diagnosis, when I was preparing to lose him. And praise God, that did not happen, and I didn't have to face that fact, but it was close enough to what I had seen that it threw me. And then I was frustrated because I thought, I've done all this work, I thought I have healed, and my husband had come in and said, healing leaves scars, and scars get irritated when something comes up against them, but it doesn't mean that they're gaping wounds again. Healing isn't linear and it isn't easy, and sometimes you have to start over and over again. But I promise you can do it. 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, Even 1 year ago, if you asked me if I would be sitting here okay, able to do this project, wanting to take care of myself and rebuild my life near my mom and take care of her when she declines, I don't know what I would have said to you. But I know now that I would have said to myself, keep going.